Welcome back, everyone. What was that? Thanks. So if you're like most people, you are waiting for that check to come. The US federal government is poised to send millions of Americans checks as part of the $2.2 trillion stimulus package that was passed just recently, and I also made a video on it. If you didn't see that yet, I broke down the entire bill from start to finish, A to Z. You can see that video, the link will be down below in the description. Be sure to check that out before watching this video. So of course, as we know, this is aimed to shore up the economy reeling from the coronavirus outbreak. Just a few weeks ago, President Trump signed the bill right into law after the House and Senate voted on it and passed it. And so it also includes cash payments directly into the hands of Americans. Now, you may or may not qualify. Personally, I will not qualify for it. I broke it down a little bit more in that stimulus package video expose, so be sure to check that out. As I mentioned, it mostly depends on how much you earn, but most Americans will benefit and receive a check, as well as children will receive $500. In addition, there were also expanded unemployment benefits, as well as relief for small businesses and loans. So once people get this stimulus money, the simple question left is, how should you use it? Especially in these uncertain times, people may feel very scared and fearful to put a nickel in the markets. And people have bills piling up, rent to pay, expenses through the roof. This check may not even make a dent in any of that. Millions of Americans have already applied for unemployment. Some can't even get through. So should this check just go to food and basic necessities like that? But for essential workers and people that still have jobs, how should they use their money, as 37 million jobs are potentially in jeopardy? So in this video, we're going to be going over the top 4 ways how you should spend and use your stimulus check. And I'm saving something interesting for number 4, the last one, so be sure that you just stick around for that one. It may be a little bit controversial. Some people may say, definitely not, you should never do that. Some people may say it's a very good idea, it's a nice thing. So be sure that you do stick around for that one. I'm going to hear your opinions. Tell me down below what you think about number 4. Number 1, emergency fund accounts. Hopefully something like this pandemic will never happen again, but you just never know. There's so many things that can go wrong. So many emergencies and unexpected expenses that can come up. Preferably this would go in a high yield savings account, but stay tuned because in my next video, of course, after the turning $100 into $1 million series that you should be watching, I will actually be showing you some news with Robinhood and something that I received and how you could take advantage of Robinhood's high yield savings account. This would be a perfect use for it. Now, you don't want to just throw this money into some shady offshore account, something that you're not familiar with. Try to find something, do your research, look into different accounts. You will find a yield touching about 2%. A rainy day account should cover about 3 to 6 months of expenses, and a lot of people, that is something hard to come up with. And of course, this check wouldn't do it, but put that check towards it. Start now. You just never know what could go wrong. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to mean that the money is just sitting in a savings account where it is earning pennies on the dollar. It could actually go into some index fund that is liquid. So liquidity is the biggest thing that you want. As long as that is liquid and you can pull out at any time, feel free to put your money in something like that as well. So this kind of account, that means money for rent, mortgage, and utilities, all of your monthly expenses. And according to a recent study, the rent in February, the average number was about $1,468. So your rent might be a lot more than that, a lot less. It all depends on where you live. And according to this study, as of December, homeowners paid $833 in interest and principal a month in a 30-year rate on a median priced home at $225,723. So that number does not include the varying size of property taxes that could be layered on top of a monthly bill. In an ideal scenario, this fund should also cover about $120 to $200 for gas per month, as well as $400 for groceries for the average family of 4. And you never know when you're gonna have car expenses, even though we are quarantined at home. So allow for about $1,000 for car expenses, tire repairs, things of that nature. And if you can, the fund should also have enough for the annual limit on out-of-pocket healthcare expenses. If you feel confident that you will not be laid off anytime soon and you do not have a contingency fund just yet, start contributing towards it, put every paycheck there from here on in. Even if you are super confident that nothing will happen to you, you will not be touched whatsoever or impacted, you just never know, you could be next. Number 2, spend it, but on debts. If you feel comfortable and confident with your savings and rainy day fund, then you're going to pay down some debt, and particularly credit card debt. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, in the fiscal fourth quarter of 2019, Americans owed a whopping $930 billion in credit card debt. Even though it's not an investment per se, it's a great way to get a guaranteed immediate return. But advisors warn not to necessarily put it towards student loan debt just yet. This is because you want to just wait just a little bit to see what further action lawmakers will take when it comes to student debt relief. I did touch on it, just a drop, in the stimulus package. Of course, once again, that video will be down below. But in short, the federal government is the lender behind most students' loan debt. The government is waiving collection for interest on loans for the time being, and borrowers can put payments on pause for 6 months. So again, the top focus should be credit card debt, but advisors say particularly those with more than 8% interest. I actually did do a video a long time ago, especially for young people out there, how to start building your credit from absolute scratch, how I got started building my credit from having nothing and showing no income. You can be sure to check that video out. The link will be down below. And according to the Federal Reserve, as of November, the average annual percentage rate for a credit card actually stood at 14.87%. So you are going to want to tackle your credit card debt ASAP as soon as possible. It just takes a snowball effect, a never-ending cycle, and especially in these times, you don't want to be stuck with that when you have so many other bills piling up. This will take a great burden off your shoulders, give you a little bit more flexibility and freedom to do what you want with your upcoming paychecks. So do that first. And the third way to use your stimulus check, invest it, but carefully. If emergency funds have been first filled and debts have been paid off, if you have the stomach and experience, there could be a lot of good investment opportunities waiting right under your nose. There's companies trading nearly 70-80% off of their highs. This is unprecedented. We will never see this kind of a discount, hopefully, ever again. Now, do still be cynical and skeptical because we could still have some more downside from here to go. In recent days, the market has been looking good, and it looks like we may be exiting the bear market. However, you just never know, and some experts and analysts are saying that the worst is yet to come. In fact, according to this one bear model, it predicts a nightmare 70% stock market crash on top of what we've already seen. One researcher thinks the stock market could bottom out 89% below this year's high based on the Great Depression and dot-com bust. There's so much uncertainty, and as the quote goes, it's time in the market, not timing the market. Following a strategy of dollar cost averaging will give you some protection, some aid for any bumps in the road, any obstacles to come ahead. One suggestion is to put it in good, strong companies that are already benefiting somewhat from this pandemic. Think about virtual learning and business cloud infrastructure, or think esports, video games, grocery stores, industries and sectors like these that are still having strong revenue even within these times. But if you are very risk averse, you don't want to start picking and betting on companies to hopefully shoot back up after this is all over, then you could throw it in something like an index fund, an ETF, exchange traded fund, that is getting a lot of exposure to so many different industries. Having this exposure to as many industries as possible will provide a growth opportunity for the future. But at the same time, you're also offsetting risks for buying into individual companies that may end up filing for bankruptcy after this is all over. So as we have covered so many times in this channel, you would want to look into something, an ETF index fund that tracks the index of the S&P 500. That is a low cost fund, that is, and be sure to check out some videos, I'll link them down below, where I've talked about S&P 500 index funds and why they could be very beneficial for you. While these funds may seem boring and dull, you are going to have this diversification to as many sectors as possible, especially in these unprecedented times. This will offer some sort of protection, and you can also get some discounted prices right now. Just look at the history, look at how much the S&P 500 has returned over the last 100 years. We have survived world wars, a depression, recessions, and so you will be much safer. And number 4, the fourth use of your stimulus check, donate it if you can afford to. Do take this with a grain of salt, because only for people that can absolutely 100% afford it maybe should donate their stimulus check. Lots of hourly workers like retail staff, restaurant workers, nail technicians, hairdressers virtually saw their incomes go away overnight, but their financial obligations did not. And according to most Americans, they already say that their stimulus checks will not bridge the gap for very long. Food banks and other charities are going to see a rising demand for their services. All these nonprofits are going to see an increase in demand. However, their budgets were set before this pandemic started. So if you've kept your job and you have an adequate emergency fund, you may want to think about donating a portion or maybe entirely your entire stimulus check to someone in need or some sort of a charity. That is a very small demographic, I would imagine, out of America. However, there are so many people out there that have it a lot worse than you, even if you think you have it the worst. If you do feel financially secure, you may want to consider donating that check to someone who is less fortunate than you. Times like these call for compassion and solidarity. And if you know you're planning on spending that check, even if you're not in a very good financial situation, if you are planning on just throwing it away on some objects or things that won't bring you any good, then you're also going to want to think about donating it. Giving back is a great feeling, and it's an instantaneous way to feel joy. And if you are a believer in karma, then you may see something down the road come to you. It's not a lot of money, but it's something. The fact is, a lot of Americans will be getting their stimulus checks. So how are you going to be spending them? Tell me down in the comments below what you plan on doing with it if you are receiving it. Remember, tough times will not last, but tough people do. So stay strong, hang in there. This will go away. I do hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up, smash that like button, perhaps share it with your friends. That way they know what to do with their stimulus check. And if you'd like to see more videos from my channel, I post videos every single week covering business, finance, entrepreneurship, mindset, strategy, tips, and tricks from my own experience. Be sure that you are subscribed. I post new videos every single week without fail. And if you'd like to be notified so that way you're first in line to see that video before anyone else, be sure that you have that notification bell clicked. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.